Well, welcome to week 10 of Tuesday Night Heffron. A big hello to John Sunday. John, you better say something because I'm going to talk for a while.
That's unusual, Crafty. I'll see if I can get a word in edgeways halfway through.
We'll see what happens. And a big hello to Alexis. And again, same to you, Alexis.
Welcome, sports fans.
Excellent. Look, what I'm going to start with was the wrap up of the race. We're going to start with that, and then we're going to get to the feature of the race. So it was a Southeaster win, exactly the same as week 9. Look, I took the times on B and C grade. They were both going fast, but that didn't matter because A grade were absolutely smoking. They were flying along. Added to that, they also had a little bit of a handy head start with Collins handicapping. I don't think that'll matter. It wouldn't have mattered if he held them on the line for another 30 seconds because they were lapping in 2-minute 37 and 2-minute 38 consistently over. Now I did the math on that, John, and I put that at about 47 kilometers an hour. Is that close?
Yeah, well, a very fast lap at Heffron for A grade is 45 plus. So once you start sneaking up to 46, 47, that's really, really moving.
Yeah, well, 40.
How much faster can they go?
I don't know.
Well, with the right sort of wind, who knows?
Well, the record is when I looked on Strava is held by Jack Bennett at 50 kilometers an hour. But you've got to take that if they're averaging 47 kilometers an hour, that includes the corners. That includes the little pimples. I know they don't really come into it, but it's a thing. Look, in the end, A grade get up, and they get up with about 3 laps to go. It turns into a sprint, and Kurt Eather wins the sprint. But that's not the big story, is it? Because the big story is, the pocket rocket, Caleb Ewan turned up, and man, did that change perspective on a few things. It sent electricity through the audience, the crowd, the riders. And start with you, Alexis. You would have felt it. You were on the course.
Absolutely. And because we started in front of them, I can actually say I was beating him during the race. He only caught me with a couple of laps to go. That's right. Took him. Yeah. Caleb couldn't catch me until 5 laps to go. So, I can talk about that for a long time.
Alexis, the feature of the event was Caleb being there. When you got caught, were you looking, oh, look, there's A grade, or were you going, where's Caleb?
I just thought I've got to get to the finish line to watch the finish, and getting there, don't crash. Don't cause a pile up. Don't swerve suddenly. You don't want to be made international headlines as the person who took him out.
Took out $1 million contract. John, let's start with how did it happen? How is it that we ended up with Caleb on the start line?
Well, I was really surprised that Caleb came down to race, but nonetheless, overwhelmed. I thought it was just an awesome move on his part. He arrives back in Sydney from a 30-hour flight with 2 children under 5, Monday morning, 6 a.m., goes for one ride. And in fact, he's only been training for 2 weeks. I don't think he's done more than 30 hours in the last 2 weeks. Changed the temperature on Tuesday, goes for a ride, feels okay, and says, what the hell?
John, just stop. I didn't ask how he got to Australia. I asked how was it that he was racing at Heffron Park. Now, cut to the chase. How was it that he was racing at Heffron?
Well, he only arrived back in the country the day before. And then...
What did he watch on the flight?
I didn't ask him that.
Did they serve peanuts?
He'd only arrived back in the country the day before and then must have felt okay on Tuesday. And I think, because of his relationship with Jack, Jack most probably cursed him to come down. And there he was on the line on Tuesday evening.
I was expecting an answer, Alexis, but the answer is he was out training with Jack Bennett. Jack Bennett said, hey, mate, come to Tuesday Night Heffron. He said, oh, why not? And booyah, there he was, Alexis.
And doesn't the world owes Jack Bennett a lot of gratitude for kind of going out of his way and hassling him enough that he thought, yeah, actually, I will come down and race.
Yeah.
So thank you, Jack.
Look, okay. And now we've a fear of John going on for a long time here. when we spoke to Caleb post-race, he said some really cool things. I'm going to get to one of them shortly. I'll lead into it. The first thing that he said was he is not used to rolling out and going bang at full pace straight from the start. World Tour don't do that. The other thing he said he wasn't used to was seeing 200 beats per minute on his heart rate.
Yeah, well, after the race, his race data proved that that was the hardest he had gone all year. World Tour races, the lot. Heffron's the hardest.
He was just going but he raced so superbly in every move that A grade, and there were a lot of moves. Caleb either got across to it or was in it.
He certainly did. And what was really interesting, every time he did that, his hands were on the top of the hoods, and he was sitting cruising as if he wasn't even making an effort.
He was. Now, the other cool thing, and get this, when in post-race talk on the microphone, he said, and these words ring true. He said, "I remember when CJ Sutton used to turn up wearing Sky kit." So he remembered when CJ, the pro, was turning up at Heffron, and he was a young under-17 rider at the time. And I think that is very, very important and an important statement, Alexis.
Awesome. And I completely agree with what he said there, because you saw all the juniors there on the night were just so happy to be there racing with him. But also he was so free with his time that he allowed all of them to get a photo with him. You know, and there's even plenty of has-beens and never was's who got photos with him as well. But the look on the juniors' faces, that said it all. That was, you know, like what we've been going on so much this season about developing those junior riders and the platform that Heffron provides.
Okay. It also changed the dynamics of the reason A grade were going around in 2-minute 37-second laps is everybody in A grade was like, I'm going to do a turn with Caleb. I'm going to pull turns with him. And it was just, everybody was giving it a go. John, would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. So normally, you know, if you had 26 A graders, you might have 10 doing all the work, 15 going along for the ride. But I reckon it was 23 putting in an effort just to prove they weren't there for the ride and wanted to do a turn with Caleb.
While in C grade, we just had Rodrigo and Chris Reynolds doing that. So we were just as blown away.
Well, that I did note, and John, you would have noted it too. In C grade, Rodrigo was cranking it. He was on a mission, and his mission was, I don't even care if I finish. I just want to go fast, and I want to pull these guys with me. Is that what it was like in the bunch, Alexis?
Yeah, he was just doing turn after turn. He'd be doing half lap turns in some occasions. He just said, I was just there to go until we got caught, and then I was happy to pull off. It was fantastic ride.
And was it fast?
Oh, I think it was for C grade. It was clearly the hardest race we've done all year, without a doubt.
I can vouch for that because certain C grader said to me after the race, our first lap was 3 minutes and 1 second. I've never been that fast on a first lap in C grade ever.
So yeah, what happened with B grade? Because I actually have no idea. I was so focused on where C grade, how we're just holding the wheel. So I'll be interested to hear. What happened with B grade? No idea. When did they get caught?
B grade got caught probably a lap before you guys did.
Gee, so they did well as well. So they were fine. Okay.
Yeah, they were fine. Yeah, there's some big hitters in B grade. And the B grade bunch started with like similar size bunch to C grade, about 27, 28. A few more finishes in B grade, very few finishes in C grade. But the hitters in B grade were really driving, and I think they were very motivated too. They thought, well, we're not going to get caught by Caleb. We're going to beat him.
Now, with the women's competition, that actually turned into a one to watch. Kira Will, she hung on to the Caleb bunch for a lap and a half if they got caught
at the bell.
Yeah, and she was already dropped by the bell. Now, I looked at it, and she had about 500 meters over Brie Playel's bunch, John.
That's correct. So when they came through the bell, there was about 20 riders up for the sprint. and Kira's just off the back by about 50 meters, and there was quite a big gap back to a chasing bunch. But what happened when they came in for the finish? The gap to the chasing bunch had closed to a few meters, and she once
She had
again
to sprint.
Kira did
She
damn
had
well.
yeah, Kira had to sprint. Like she was riding everything she had, but at 100 meters to go, she was out of the saddle trying to get to the line, and she only just made it. So she takes the first woman. Now
it won't be long before Pre gets her first win. She's never won Pre, so she hasn't had a victory yet. She hasn't been on the top step, but I think that point score is really going to start tightening up next over January, February. Nicole, Kira, Bree, they're all going to be there in the mix. It'll be hard to pick a winner.
John, we had some other international guests.
We
had a USA cyclist named Lance.
Yeah, well, we had a whole bunch of them, actually. We had two British cyclists.
Yeah, George, who was the other?
Go fast, turn left.
That was him. And who was the other English rider?
Chris Spittle, although I think he's joined Randwick. So we had three international riders, first time ever at Heffron. But the George story is quite interesting because he's a track rider. He's come out to Australia to race the track, only bought a track bike, and went and bought a $700 secondhand Specialized, literally off Gumtree 4 days earlier, and turns up and wants to ride A grade. I said, maybe B grade's a good start, George.
And I think he halfway through the race, he was going, thanks, John. That was a good tip, because he was just hanging on a few laps there. But additionally, there were some other international riders. They're on the sidelines, though.
Well, they were almost going to race. So there's a track squad of 6 Koreans who are going to be in Sydney for the next 6 weeks. They arrived in Sydney on Tuesday, and originally they had contacted us to say they wanted to race, but then obviously changed their mind and thought maybe a little bit of acclimatization might work. But they've got a pretty full-on race schedule. They're racing at Waratah Park on Friday night, Randwick on Saturday, back at Waratah on Sunday. And of course they'll be here for the trophy race next Tuesday night.
Oh, good, because they looked like they enjoyed themselves. Hopefully, we've got the American and some of the UK riders riding at Tempe on Saturday night for the Sydney 1000, brought to you by Shimano. It's going to be a spectacular night, starting at 5 p.m. We've got DJ Dev pumping out the tunes, and if you've got something to watch, you want something to watch, head over to Tempe. It's $15 entry. Food trucks galore. It's going to be a great night.
It is a great night. It's one you can bring. It's worth actually bringing family and friends, because it has that atmosphere that, unlike most bike races where you can't see what's going on, the track's right in front of you. They're all zipping around. The racing, halftime, you got no idea what's actually going on, but it's actually a great fun night for everyone.
Yeah, and added to it, I'll make it a little bit fun too, because I'll be on the commentary, and I'm joined with Mike Tomalaris. He's come along. So we're just at the corner, Alexis, coming into the straight.
We are. I think at this stage we're just about to turn off the Arc de Triomphe and into the big straight, into the cauldron that is Heffron Park.
Now the video just picks it up here. Okay, so we can't. I don't have control here, but John, who's leading out?
So that's Dan Bonello. He's followed by Darcy or Ollie. No, it's Darcy.
Yeah.
And just behind the arrow is Jack. Behind him is Caleb. And then Kurt Eather is sitting on Caleb. And that's Phil Lucas just out of the saddle there. But it's what happens next that sets the tone of the sprint.
Okay, let's hit the play.
Although you should just point out, look at, there's Hugh Harvey as well, hitting the grass on the right.
Yeah, that is. Yeah,
and then that's point. Hugh. And then the rider behind him, the other red number, who's that?
That's Ollie.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Wow. So they've all done very, very well. Right. So Hugh, he's showing his pedigree.
Yeah. I've got to point out that ZCC had the time of their life leading out Caleb Ewan. They'll never forget that one. And Mike, we see the rider of Jack Bennett, but Jack's really close to the grass here because he sees Caleb starting to come around.
It does unravel. It just unravels because what happens is that Jack goes to take Caleb to the right, but at the last minute, Bon and I think it was Willie Heff are in front. One goes left, one goes right, so it sort of splits everybody up.
Yeah, Caleb can handle his bike, and he's thrown right over to the left. But look who is tracking him. It is Kurt Eather.
Yeah.
And Kurt's got his wheel and on the protected side as well, and fires. And have a look at, you see Caleb look over. He looks and says, oh my gosh, he's going, there he is. He's looking at him right now.
Yeah.
And he says, he's going pretty fast, and that'll do me. He sits up, and Kurt Eather takes the win of a lifetime. Absolutely stoked. Now that if Kurt Eather is ever going to get a contract, he will use that result as a big thing, if you know what I mean.
I think so. I mean, you know, he looked around. I think he also is guaranteed what poster he's going to have on his wall, absolutely blowing up to life size. He's going to get the finishing line photo from big guy plastered on his wall.
Yeah,
no question. That is Christmas present done.
Okay. What else do we need to do? Well, we've got to do.
I just wanted to add one thing about Kurt. There was a post from Jeanette on the race, which was just fantastic. And I thought this summed up the whole mood and vibe on the night. And she said, we've been around cycling for a little while now. When Kurt was an under 11 and under 13 rider, he always looked up to the guys in the Roadrunners team. Some of the great riders in that team, Jack Bennett, Scott Lord, Jackson Lord. But one in particular was his favourite, Caleb Ewan. Still remember that white Cervelo that Caleb won the under 17 state road title on at Port Macquarie. So isn't that fantastic that that memory has stuck with Kurt, and he got the chance to race him and beat him. Next week at Heffron, John. 45th annual trophy race. East Trophy race. First run in 1979, or way back then, won by Graham Hart.
Yep.
What's your best ever finish, John?
Second to Gary Stewart. He robbed me one year. It was about 1986.
Yeah, Gary won it about 3 times, didn't he?
Yeah. I should have won it at least 2 of those times.
I'm sure you should have, John.
The fact that you were able to recall it so quickly says how you're still bitter. You still want your name on that trophy.
No, I let it go. I let it go.
Clearly.
I let it go.
Wasn't a moment of hesitation.
Okay. Yeah. Now, it's fair to say that it is possibly the ugliest trophy in Australia in cycling, but it's possibly also one of the hardest to win.
Tell you what, it's got some good names on it. Guess who the defending title holder is?
Is it Jack Bennett?
No, it's Kurt Eather.
No way. Thank you. That is, that is poignant. Okay. I guess we've got Rider of the Week to go. John, who was Rider of the Week for week 10?
Kurt Eather.
You reckon Kurt Eather? He won it, and what a brilliant win. Don't answer that because we're doing Rider of the Week. Alexis, who do you think Rider of the Week was?
Look, normally I don't like always picking the winner, but Kurt Eather, what a memory. And just such an awesome scene. So, yeah, no question.
Okay, so I think I'm beaten, but I will throw my Rider of the Week into the mix, and it was pretty clear in my mind that it was Caleb Ewan. Caleb had more influence on the race, the outcome of the race, the dynamics. There was more talk about Caleb than anyone else. There were more people on the sidelines watching him. And I feel that if anyone went home that day and the person they spoke about wasn't Kurt Eather, I think it was Caleb Ewan.
You know what? I'm going to change my mind. And it's not often that you make me change my mind, but you're actually right. You are right.
That people went home and said, I raced with Caleb.
Was defined by Caleb's decision to come down and race locally and hang out with everybody.
So off air, we've had a bit of a discussion and we're unanimous now. I think I've turned a few people's minds. It's Caleb Ewan.
Yeah, congratulations, Caleb.
Exactly. What a victory for him. Rider of the Week.
Yeah. Stages in the Tour de France. Rider of the week at Heffron. See you next Tuesday, Heffron Park.